Hey, what's up you guys? My name is James Sands and welcome to my channel, Fastlane James. And today I'm going to be answering some of your guys' questions from our Q&A. So let's get started. And I thought today it'd be really fun to sit in my girlfriend's car. She has a 2018 Porsche Macan. You can see it has a really sick spec. The red interior and the outside is the dark gray color. So it's really, really cool. A little bit about me. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest and I've always been interested in cars, but it wasn't until I got my first motorcycle that I realized I was obsessed with speed and going fast, anything related to adrenaline. So my first bike was a CBR 600 and then my first sports car was a Camaro. And the really funny thing about that is that I got a Camaro. I was stoked to have a Camaro. It was a 2010, the silver with the racing stripes RS. My dad asked me, what engine does it have? And I was like, shoot, I don't know. It's Camaro. And I was stoked about it. And I did some research and I realized I had the V6. So that's where the car bug kind of hit me, was I realized I had about the slowest sports car and I was getting raced by Mazda 3s and stuff. And so then I wanted the V8 Camaro. And from then it's just been my passion. I'm learning more and more, and cars are just amazing. I'm sure everyone watching this channel who has an interest in cars will agree with me. The first car I ever had was a piece of crap, bro. It was a 1986 Subaru Loyale. It's like what the Outback has turned into, but it was a manual and I had it less than 6 months because it broke. But I remember, I don't know if it was just I couldn't drive a manual, which is probably true, but I could not get up a hill in first gear. So I had to kind of like feather the clutch. It was just really difficult to even drive the car. So it ended up breaking down and I never saw it again. So that was my first car. So my ultimate dream car is kind of a question that has a little more to it. I feel like when you get really into cars, you have dream cars at certain price points. So for 100 grand, you have your favorite car, and then it kind of goes up from there. But I think the coolest car ever is probably a McLaren P1. I saw it on Top Gear, and it had Jeremy Clarkson driving it, and it was in the rain, and he was just going nuts around the track, and it was all blacked out, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. It looked like a spaceship. So the cars that I have now, currently, I daily drive a black Mercedes. It's a 14 E550 4MATIC, and that one was surprising because I was looking for a daily driver, and believe it or not, my dad actually has the same car, and I went into a dealership looking at a Audi A6, and it was just sitting right there next to it, and I called him, and I was like, you are so annoying because this is the coolest car here and it's the perfect price point, and he interrupted me right there and was like, get it, you're not going to be in the same lane at the same time with me and you're just going to love that car. And the fun car in my collection that I hope to grow is a 2006 Ferrari F430 red on tan. So that's been really fun. When I got it, it was stock and about 22,000 miles. I put an exhaust on it. I did a Fab Speed headers and then an S-line exhaust. You'll hear how it sounds definitely in some further videos, but if you just Google 430 S-line exhaust, you'll probably see a yellow one and it sounds exactly like that. The thing is nuts. So that's the fun car in the collection. The fastest car I've ever driven, that had to be a 2019 C7 Z06. It was the car I actually traded in on the Ferrari, believe it or not. It was just insanely quick. That one just blew my mind. It came from a 6th gen Camaro SS. So I was working my way up the Chevy lineup from the 6-cylinder Camaro. And the jump from, can't even remember what it was, maybe I think it was 455 horse up to close to 660 was insane. Once it hooked up, it was amazing and definitely loved that car. Slowest car I've ever driven was definitely that damn Subaru Loyale. It was so slow, man. It was embarrassing. Where I live in Portland, there's a tunnel and you try and make it up, you have to go all the way on the right lane and everyone's flying by you and you're embarrassed, no tint on the windows, just like hiding. All the cars I've ever owned. So let's see. We start with the Loyale. And my major big upgrade was an '04 Oldsmobile Alero, also red. So I had that one about 3 years while I was working in coffee. And then from that, I got the CBR 600, then the V6 Camaro. I ended up selling the bike because it was just kind of freaking me out. Might get another one. I'm not sure if I'm going to get back in the world of bikes, but I went from a V6 Camaro to a black 6th gen Camaro. And then I got the C7 Z06, and that was awesome for me because I got to have it built and designed. I didn't go crazy on the spec, but I did Arctic white with the red interior, stick shift, and got the aero package. And then I also grabbed a Jeep. It was a TJ, and I thought it could be a daily, but after living with it for a little bit, I realized it's very difficult to daily a Jeep. And then that's when I traded the C7 on the Ferrari 430. For about a month there, I had a TJ Wrangler. It was lifted, jacked up. The previous owner knew way more about Jeeps than me, so he decked it out, and I kind of embarrassed myself trying to go over all the mods. But I know it had aft fenders that were metal. It looked beast, but driving it down the highway, you'd be going left, right. It had some wobble action going on. So I realized I can't really daily a 430 and I can't really daily this TJ. So sold the Jeep and I sold it in 6 hours. It was crazy. Put it up on Craigslist, had about 5 people get in touch with me. It was gone the next day. That's when I got my Mercedes E-Class. I do have some plans for that one. Plans for my Mercedes, there's a Rentec tune. You can get it over 700 torque. And I can't remember the horse number. I want to say it's 407 now, I believe, and it'll be, I think it's over 500, but 500 horse, 700 torque. I want to swap out the wheels and make it a sleeper. Keep it totally stock except for the wheels. On the exterior at least, so you know, if an M3 rolls up, they'll think you're a boring E350 E-Class and smoke them. Fastest I've ever gone in a car, probably about 145, and that's about the fastest I've gone on a bike. I did that in my C7 a couple times, and I just feel like at that point it's where my brain says that's enough. But you know, some people it's 160, some people, it depends on the road, but about 145 is where I let off and hit the brake. Hope no cops are listening. It was in Mexico. My favorite car shows, I've just been to Cars and Coffee. I love going to the Cars and Coffee in the Portland area. They call it Portland Cars and Coffee, but it's really like Salem Cars and Coffee. They make you drive so far south down I-5. But that one's cool because they have themed days. And there's an Italian day, Porsche day. They don't even call it German, they just call it Porsche day. You can see some crazy stuff. There's a 4x4 day and a bike day. It's really cool. Growing up, cars were always a huge part of my life, and it was all influenced by my dad. I went to the Corvette Museum probably 5 times. I saw the unveiling of the C5, C6. It was something that me and my dad did together. It was kind of a way of bonding. So we went to car shows. A lot of them were Corvette shows. I got to know all the models, and my dad had up on the wall, you know, every generation in each year, and we'd be driving down the street and he'd ask me what year a car was. There was a lot of Chevy stuff, Camaros. Really funny, man, because my dad always thought people that liked Ferraris and Porsches were snobs and Corvettes were the best car on the planet. So little did he know that his son was going to get into cars and that was going to be what he liked. You know, I had a Corvette and I loved it, but slowly, you know, I'm more drawn to exotic stuff, snob territory. Favorite colors for cars? I think it totally depends on which car. Mercedes look good in neutral kind of grayscale colors, and then Ferraris obviously red and yellow look awesome. I always like the idea of a black Ferrari all murdered out because it goes against the grain. Lamborghinis, they look the best in bright colors, or whites look really good. Pretty much the crazier the car, the crazier the color. So I'm a big fan of white though. White looks good. Like the Panda spec, white and black, looks great. And then lately I've been getting really into the GT3 RSs. So those look good in that purple color. There's all those blues, like Voodoo Blue is probably the top color. So if I could get one of those on the channel, that'd be a great day. Favorite cars at each price point. That's something me and my friends, I feel like, do all the time. What car would you get for 200? What car would you get for 100? And it was, you know, while we were baristas and making $15 an hour, we were, you know, always dreaming. For 100 grand, I think 430 is a great buy. Since I got mine, it's gone up in value. I also love the AMG GTs. Z06s are nuts for that price, and you have GTRs. But I think if I was going to pick one that well, let's see. There's gated Lambos. Yeah, it's just a big, it's a big question. But I think 430 or probably a gated Lambo or AMG GT. About 200 is where it gets really interesting because there's just so many options there. You can get cheap 488s. You can get Huracans. I've even seen 720s down there at 200. For me, I would go with either a Huracan or the GT3 RS 991.1. And 300, I think probably an Aventador is it. And then past that, I mean, there's just so much amazing stuff. Funniest experience I've had with a car. Well, funny translates, I guess, in this circumstance to embarrassing. So 430s, if they're not manual, they take a little bit to, in pretty much any single clutch gearbox, when you're going slow, it's hard to tell exactly what gear to be in, and it's kind of clunky around town. And my car has an exhaust and it's very loud, so you can tell exactly when you screw up. So I was going to the gym, and just a side note, if you don't drive the car a lot, the brakes squeak because they don't, go through proper heat cycles. So the brakes squeak. So I was rolling to the gym, feeling cool, downshifted, and as I was turning, everyone stopped. And so I went from second to first way too soon, and my car started jolting back and forth, and the exhaust is going, yeah. It's bad. Everyone around is hearing it, and then as I'm stopping, it finishes with a brake squeal that's super loud, and I was embarrassed, man, but say that's the funniest experience. And it's not the only time that's happened, but that's the time where there was just pedestrians around, and it was pretty bad, but very funny to think about. Oh yeah, another story. This one could be funnier than that one I just had forgotten. So when I was about 12, I got into World of Warcraft. You know that game? It's very fun, very addicting, and it's just get very immersed in that game. So 16 at this point, I just have my license, and I'm playing a crap load of World of Warcraft. My parents are deciding to sell their house at the time, which is still the house they have. They decided not to sell it, but we're moving stuff back and forth from a storage unit. And I'm a little racer. I'm driving my dad's truck, and each time I go to the storage unit, there's this one corner that I'm practicing drifting. So I turn off traction control. It's like a 2002 V8 truck, and it's short cab, short bed, and my dad actually lowered it. So it was kind of really a fun car to drive. So I'm drifting it, and in between one of the trips, it rained, and me being a really inexperienced, overambitious driver, I decide this one I'm gonna really drift the crap out of it. So I start drifting, and classic oversteer comes in. I don't correct soon enough, and I drill it into a guardrail. And I remember hearing the crunch and understanding that I just dented my dad's car. So as I jump out, I remember verbally saying this. I was so immersed in WoW and video games at the time that I had to just realize, and I yelled out, "This is real life!" It was so bad. I just realized I couldn't undo it, and I was gonna have to make the call. Called, my mom answered, and I just barked, "Is Dad there?" And I told him that I totally screwed up his truck. So he came over and brought a chain and used the Suburban to pull the fender back because it was jammed into the wheel. We made it look all right, but it always had a dent. All my friends asked about it, and I had to tell them that I was a little too fast, a little too furious there. My favorite car movie has got to be Ford versus Ferrari. I remember that movie. I went with two of my buddies who are super into cars, and we got beers at the concession stand, and we were in a theater. It was kind of like an IMAX where you could, you had peripheral vision of the movie, and they had the sound jacked up. It was just the best car movie ever. And I remember it hyped everyone up so much that as people were leaving, we got to the parking garage, and on the floor above us, you could see them. There was this dude in a Mustang doing donuts, and it was just incredible. So I remember I got in my Corvette and just started revving the crap out of it, and the woman who was managing the parking garage came up and started yelling at us. It was just a great movie. And actually, I ended up trading my Corvette on a Ferrari about a month later. I think that movie got to me for sure. Biggest inspirations? That's a great question. So I think when it's car related, I've been watching Street Speed for about 5 years. When I had my silver Camaro a long time ago, and he had just got the yellow Z06, and I thought, like, dang, you're 23 with a Z06. That's the coolest thing ever. I never thought it'd be possible, but I got mine at 26. So I think he was a huge inspiration, and one of the first young people I saw that was just crushing it and going after their goals. And not many people that age have those type of cars. So it was the first time I realized, like, oh, just because I'm young doesn't mean that I don't have to be old, I guess, to get into cars. So, and then other inspirations, I mean, I got a whole list of mentors, but the people that inspire me the most are not really athletes or anything like that, not actors. It's self-made business people. They've started early, just grinding for 20 years, and they have a lot to show for it, but they earned all of it. Like Andy Frisella, probably the biggest inspiration if I could just pick one. Manny Koshman. A lot of people who are successful business people, but also are very into cars and passionate about cars, and I just relate to that so hard. Hobbies other than cars. I love skiing. I love lifting, powerlifting. Not really on a level where I want to compete, but I do like competing with myself. Fitness is a huge hobby of mine, and personal development. Gaming. I love playing WoW, man. Playing WoW with my brother and friends. Thanks so much, guys, for the questions. This was really fun. All my links are below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And this was Fastlane James. Can't wait for another video.